Right, 18650 batteries. Fucking stupid batteries. Oh shit. Let's get back to some airsoft. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm wearing the same t-shirt as last time. Folk are going to think I'm a tramp. Don't worry, I'm not selling merch. These are t-shirts that my missus got me for my birthday 6 months ago that have only just been delivered. So they're just for me for wearing in the workshop and getting messed up. However, if you want to give me some money for a t-shirt, I'll gladly oblige. But anyway, I got this DBoys KAC PDW from a local site, Nomad Woodland. I've mentioned them before. I painted a gun for Russell Lyall, who manages the site, a couple of months back, and it's got a little problem with the trigger. It isn't working. So Russell tells me that this gun has been used and abused on 11.1 volt LiPo batteries. I'm told that the internals are largely stock, so it'll be interesting to see how they've held up to that. But my first suspicion would be that the 11.1 volt batteries have sped up the burning out of the trigger contacts. It's a very common problem in airsoft anyway, but it's made worse with higher voltage, higher powered batteries. Let's get it stripped down and we'll find out. Right, so let's get this one open. First step is to remove this selector gear. It just sits in place. It usually falls out while you are taking the gearbox out the gun. This gear here is on an axle, which just pops off, and that will release the gear underneath as well. Got to be careful you don't break the teeth. There is another gear on the other side, but it's held currently under the selector plate, so we'll leave that there for now. Then remove the bolt catch and its spring, and then it's just a matter of getting the casing screws out. There's 8 of them. Now there should be a bolt up the back to secure the spring guide, stop it moving about. That can cause a lot of shot to shot inconsistency, but it's missing on this one, so that saves us a job. I'll fit a replacement, but get a long screwdriver up the spring guide, hold it down and gently open the casing, and let's see what damage or not this 11.1 LiPo has done to these internals. Just release the tension there. Spring guide has got a bearing on it, that's good. That bushes came off, I'll just pop that in there. Everything looks actually quite good at first glance. Don't see any obvious broken teeth on the gears. In fact, very little wear at all. Let's pull the power cylinder out. Yeah, piston teeth look pretty good. We'll keep the shims in place because the gearbox was otherwise working fine. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But we'll take them out in the meantime. Not a lot of wear there. Reversal latch. It's used, but it's not really worn. Sector gear. Oh, what's this? Oh, I know what that is. This could be the root of our problem. It might not be burnt out contacts at all. Get the spur gear out and then I'll see if I'm correct. Spur gear's fine. So the gears are all fine. Now this piece of metal, if I'm not mistaken, is a stop to prevent the trigger trolley moving too far back beyond the point that the trigger can engage it. So that could have been our problem. Ran into that before. It's currently engaged, it's maybe popped back in. But let's have a look. Take the trigger out. And it's spring. Yeah, that's definitely a problem. Down in here you can actually see the slightly different coloured square where this is sheared off. That's letting the trigger go back just a little too far so that when it bounces back on semi-auto fire it's going beyond the point that the trigger can catch it to re-engage. So that's not good. We could just swap out the shell, but there are a few subtle differences from a standard version 2 shell with this. The indentations for the selector gears for the ambidextrous selector aren't present on most shells. Some of the rails here that take the selector plate are different too. So I think that means we're going to have to attempt a repair. But let's get the trigger contacts out anyway. They need to come out so that we can try and repair that post and see if they are as burnt up as they probably will be. Release the wiring. Trigger contact spring. Trigger contact trolley. Yeah, it's not the cleanest. It needs replaced anyway, so we'll continue with the tutorial. Yeah, you can see in there where that's been arcing, they're burnt up pretty bad. So we'll continue with the trigger contact tutorial, but I am going to have to come up with a solution for this. You can see there exactly where that's meant to go. On other gearbox styles, I think it's G&P, they actually have a screw-in post. This is a spare one I have. So I might be able to drill and tap down in there and fit that into this shell. That saves us trying to source one of these with the subtle differences. But in the meantime, let's get the trigger contacts desoldered and get a new contact fitted up. Well, that went sideways quick. If you're only here to see the strip down and the replacement of the trigger contacts, that's you probably done. The reassembly is reverse of what we done earlier. But I will be doing a full reassembly at the end once we've fixed that problem with the gearbox casing. And that in fact is actually pretty simple. It's just a matter of drilling a hole in the right place, threading the hole and then screwing in the stop pin I showed you earlier. So let's get that done. that worked out pretty well. I'm always nervous about drilling and tapping small holes like these because it's very easy to break the drill bit or the tap, but fortunately no such dramas here. And anyway, if that had happened, I'd have just removed it in edit to make myself look awesome, because apparently that's what YouTubers do. But it was good to show how simple a repair like that can be and how you don't have to scrap otherwise good parts. Now, since the full reassembly is quite long and quite involved, and maybe not everyone will want to watch that, I'll run it in full at the end as an outro. So if you want to watch that, let it play, and if you don't, you can click away. Or even if you're not interested, you could just go and get a cup of coffee anyway and let it run. God knows my channel could use the watch time. But yeah, the trigger is now working perfectly. It was all down to that post as we've seen. Chrono wise, it's coming out around about 330 feet per second, so perfect for UK sites. There's actually a lot more little things I could have done to this gun, but I just ran out of time and it had to go back to Nomad Woodland to be used as a hire gun. It was good to see very little wear inside the gearbox, despite being apparently hammered on 11.1 volt LiPo batteries and all the components being pretty much stock OEM parts. It just goes to show that your gun won't always automatically explode when you put a higher powered battery in there. Even the part of the shell that broke, that was nothing to do with battery voltage. That trigger would have been resetting back against that post with the same force regardless. And the trigger contacts, although they were quite burned up, weren't that bad. Those could have easily been cleaned up with a file or some abrasive paper. But it was still good to change them out for the good of the video, and hopefully that'll be useful to someone. One thing to mention, the gun has had its angle of engagement corrected. That could be a contributing factor to why the gun has been so reliable. But even then, AOE correction, although it has its place, isn't the mythical modification that many think it to be. I'll maybe do a video on my take with that in the future. You can let me know in the comments below if that'll be of any interest. Anyway, enough of me talking shit. Hopefully this will be useful to someone, and if it has been, maybe hit the like button, maybe even think about subscribing to the channel, and if you do, remember and hit the bell button, or subscribing is kinda pointless. So until next time, take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Right, roll the video.